So Outrage is a play about a sort of ironic cycle where someone comes up with a new idea and the people in power try to suppress that idea and maybe even kill that person. But then that person's death, as sort of a martyr, angers their followers to the point where they rise up and that idea takes over and becomes the next, it sort of becomes the new dominant idea. It's about a graduate student at a contemporary university who's writing a dissertation on 3 historical martyrs, on Socrates in ancient Greece, on Menocchio, who's a Renaissance Italian miller who came up with his own theory of the cosmos and got in trouble with the Inquisition, and Bertolt Brecht in World War II era Germany, having to flee the Nazis and move to Los Angeles, where he wrote his play Galileo, which is sort of his own experience. And so the actual stories of those 3 historical periods and 3 historical martyrs are woven through the contemporary story at the university, where the graduate student also ends up in the middle of a power struggle between his 2 thesis advisors over how a large donation to the university is going to be spent. Sometimes you'll see a play that's period or that takes place in history, and it's like everybody, it's really dry. Everyone says exactly what they mean earnestly all the time. No one lies, no one has a sense of humor, no one's ironic, unless they're like a mustache-twisting villain and then everything they say is a lie and evil. And so my approach was sort of basically to consider that, like, okay, people have more or less always been the same, and that there's no difference between how people behave as contemporary people or how they behave as historical people, even if they're like a famous historical person. So the approach is sort of to try to make them funny and complex and unpredictable, and even if they're like a famous historical martyr, not noble and brave all the time, but like afraid of being tortured and killed for their beliefs. So I wouldn't say that Outrage is technically a comedy in that, in the technical sense, in that the ending is bad for most of the characters since they're historical martyrs who got killed. But it's as funny as possible along the way. So I think it's a play that has a kind of sprightly, impish sort of energy on the way to saying some hopefully important and maybe troubling things about how fearful we are of new ideas and how hard we'll fight to maintain the status quo. Even if we especially if we used to be people who were fighting to overthrow the previous status quo.